Hello and welcome to the Emam 5.3 What's New in Emam 5.3. My name is Chuck Bulow, VP of Business Development here at Emam. I have also with me David Miller, our president, and then John Bond in our marketing department. We're going to be going over some of the key features that we're now shipping with 5.3 this month, and kind of going through all the different types of features that we're going to add or have added to it, and kind of give you an idea of what's available now for 5.3, which has launched and is ready to go. For housekeeping, we have in the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar section there, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and add those in the question section. We'll also provide this as a recording, so if you do want to share this at a later time or preview it and review it or pass it on to others, by all means, go ahead and do so. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Again, if you have any questions, just go ahead and add those to the GoToWebinar section there on the side in the little portal deal. So again, with 5.3, we're shipping this week or this month actually. So it should be available for existing customers and then of course new customers that want to try it out in our cloud version as well. If you do have a need or want to actually try Emam, you can also go to Amazon's marketplace and go up there and hit the trial, and you can run it for an hour, you can run it for a day, or run it for a month. It's up to you. Go ahead and try out the Emam system as well in the cloud. So again, on 5.3, what we're going to do is go through all the different features. So I'll kind of go through each one and then give it a little explanation as to exactly what's involved in what we're doing here with the new features and so on. So very first one here, we've just now added a TIM integration with their file-based transcoder. And so the idea really here is that you have the ability to kind of package up different types of content. So that could be video, could be bugs, lower thirds. You know, you can also take in caption files, different audio tracks, and so on. And what you're doing basically is adding those to a category. And with that category within Emam, in the category widget, you can actually select delivery or add to delivery. And then once you select that, the window or the profile pops open here for delivery and says, you know, with the TIM, you can have multiple profiles under a TIM, and then with those different delivery profiles, select those, and then be able to then package the content completely. So you'll have the captions inserted, audio tracks are differently inserted. Excuse me, any bugs, excuse me, any bugs or lower thirds are also added there as well. All right, sorry. So again, through the category widget, just going to adding all that content to a category and then selecting delivery, and then the profile you're going to be using there as well. So we've also added a new view within the browser widget. This gives you the ability to kind of look at files or assets in a category, and then being able to kind of go through a file folder structure similar to what you have in like your, you know, Windows or Mac Finder and so on, being able to find different content in different folders. And so you have the ability to kind of select all the content you want, search for it, and then view it within the browser widget within those categories, kind of looking like a folder structure. And then you'll have a button here to kind of actually go up one level each time if you want to go up one level or multiple levels, or just go right back up to the top level of your category there as well. This doesn't necessarily put the assets in multiple folders within the Emam system. It's actually the assignment of those assets within that category. So great little view, new view within the Emam system. We also have a new icon for project files. So if you have, say, a Premiere project, it shows as a group. And within that project, it's actually now an asset within the Emam system. And of course, you can search on those and find those projects and so on. Once you click on those, you can also have within the projects widget all the list of all the different assets that are associated with that project as well, and listed in the project view. But in this case here, within the browser widget, this is kind of what the thumbnail would look like now. And clicking on that, you know, again, it's associated with multiple assets, the project files, any kind of sequences and things like that that are associated with that project can also be previewed and so on within the Emam system or within the project widget. You can see what's there and associated with that. Okay, we've also added some more features within Amazon Recognition. So detecting labels, faces, text, celebrities, moderation labels as well. And within that, giving a little bit more detail, Amazon does provide some specific detail. Didn't recognize the rock here, but basically giving you kind of a breakdown of who that person might be. There's Dwayne Johnson there listed, and so on in here. And then of course, different descriptions and so on, and keywords also maybe that were spoken within the video. So this also tags inside of images, different scenes, and then of course different faces and objects as well. So that's all now part of the AI service. So within Emam, you can add the AI service plugin, and so that's a license feature that you add with Emam, and then you then go to those services like Amazon and then sign up for that service. You can go ahead and connect your account through Amazon inside of the Emam super admin. And then now your users would then have the ability to send all or certain content up to that AI service and get this information in an automated fashion. So, excuse me. So we also now have advanced search. So within projects, you can add metadata to that project, like status, information about the project, and then be able to then search on all of that specific metadata that you add. So you have basic properties of a project here. So this is basic information that comes with that, and then of course also custom metadata that you add and set up within each project. And then within the project widget, you click on, it's really hard to see here, but there's a little icon here that you can click on. And then with that, then have the ability to go and then select all the different elements that you're going to search on, the condition, and then of course the value that you're going to add. And then you have an operator and or function here. So then you can kind of select which one you're looking for and then specifically find that project, and then either selecting that and then notifying maybe an editor that it's ready to go, and they can import it into Adobe Premiere. But quite easy to go in and find all those projects. We have many clients who have thousands of projects running through Emam system. So at that point, they're basically having a hard time finding things. So with this new feature now, they can easily go in and find specific projects for specific clients and different subjects and various things that they have in their custom metadata as well. So that's brand new. Now, we've also just now added the ability to look at asset matrix. So this gives you the ability to kind of look at total number of assets inside your business unit, Emam's business unit, number of files, duration of video, audio, asset size, and more. This is an ongoing thing that we're going to be adding to the Emam system. This will kind of grow as we grow with the system here, and have the ability to kind of provide to you information about, usually our admins that will be looking at this, but total number of assets and so on. So as you look at the system, maybe wanting to expand the Emam system or hardware, adding more hardware and adding more license features within Emam to be able to kind of support your needs and so on. But this gives you a good window into exactly kind of where you stand with number of assets and files and things that you have in your Emam system. So quite easy there to look at. This is also now a new feature for adding metadata specifically for subclips and markers. So within this, you have the ability to kind of go in, do your logging for, say, subclips. They could be a segment. It could be very specific for, an edit that you're going to do and so on, but you want to add metadata to it and give it some specific information. So, obviously it's related back to the original content. And it's just, basically a marker or a reference to the original media, but as a subclip. And then you can go in and customize then all the metadata you'd like to add to that subclip and also the marker as well. So this gives you a little bit more information about what you've just created. We get a number of clients who actually create segments, and within the segment, they want to have a little bit more information about what's going on with the subclip and so on. So this gives you the ability to kind of set up custom metadata fields to give a user or an editor actually a little bit more information about specifically about that subclip or marker there as well. All right, so we've also added a few more features on the player. So giving you the ability to select multiple audio tracks for preview. So the idea here is that as assets come into the system, when we generate the proxy, we can then extract in the audio tracks, and with those audio tracks, then have single audio tracks that we can then select and be able to play back. So if you're going to go in and maybe you have different languages on different tracks or background music and things like that, and you want to listen to it and so on, or voiceovers and things like that, you can actually then select through the player, through the little gearbox. So there's a gearbox down below here in the player. Click on that. You open up the audio channels and then select which track you're going to be listening to as well. There's also some other things that are in here as well. So quality of proxy playback. When we do the ingest as well, we can actually create multiple versions of that proxy. And so that could be a good, better, best. So depending on your users that are connecting to the system, if they have a good connection, maybe they want to look at a better quality of the proxy and so on. So that's also possible to do. And then of course on the subtitling here as well, you can actually add multiple subtitles. So maybe different languages and things like that, you can actually go in and then add that to the player here and then be able to listen to the different, or view actually the different caption files as well. So pretty advanced for us, which is really, really nice what our engineers have done for it on that. So now on our workgroup package or license, we have the ability to kind of create rough cut edits. So having the ability within, say, Emam workgroup, I can actually then stitch and deliver multiple content on one single rough cut track. And on that track, then be able to then select it. I can, before I actually create something, I could actually then also send it out for preview as well. So the idea would be is that if I create a rough cut, I could actually send an email to multiple people and say, hey, is this kind of the idea of what we're trying to put together? And they can preview it and then give you a comment back and so on. And in this case here with this new feature, then I could take that and actually then stitch together that content. And then if somebody wants to edit that, that's possible as well within Adobe Premiere. If I stitch and deliver this, it becomes a new asset or delivered asset. So a lot of customers were looking at this and saying, well, I could put a head and a tail on a video and then put highlights from maybe last night's game, and then quickly go ahead and stitch this together. So a non-technical, non-editor can simply just go in, preview content, create the subclips, add those subclips or full clips if they want to as well, add that to it, maybe put a head and a tail on the video with maybe some graphics and things like that, or maybe previews of coming videos and things, and then be able to hit stitch and deliver, and then have that asset then go off and be delivered to VOD, YouTube, social media, or broadcast. And then also, I could even have that come back in as a new asset if I wanted to as well. So we're using now Elemental's Media Convert. This is kind of interesting where content goes directly up into the cloud. If you run your Emam system in a cloud environment, say AWS, I can use the transcoding up in the cloud. So if you have multiple photographers, say delivering content to the cloud, I can take that and have somebody remotely edit that content that's coming in, put a quick rough cut together and hit deliver. So quite easy to do, and kind of a nice little feature we've added. The other thing on project files, so with project files, we've added in the last release the ability to create a collection. So one issue we had with clients, again, as I mentioned before, they have thousands of projects going. So with those 1,000 projects going, they wanted to create kind of a collection for maybe based on clients, or maybe a project has multiple projects connected to it. So you're able to create a collection of that and then add the Premiere projects or Emam projects, After Effects, InDesign, and so on, those kind of projects inside of a collection. Now, sometimes our clients were actually creating empty collections for future projects to be added to. And so when somebody was doing a search, they wanted to actually hide those empty ones. So we added actually a little gear here right at the top, and then have the ability to kind of select, please hide all projects that are empty, or collections that are empty. And so now when they do their search, they won't see empty ones there. They'll only see ones that have projects associated with those. So kind of making it a little bit easier to kind of find content and then view content for your projects and so on. Another new feature we've added is Azure Blob storage. So if you haven't checked out the pricing, looking at Azure, it's a great way within the Emam system. We have the ability to kind of plug in multiple storage platforms for archiving. And so with Azure Blob, I can actually then store all of my content inside of Azure Blob, no matter where your Emam system is, as long as we have a connection to the outside world and getting into Azure and so on. I can create then an archive location based on standard or high priority or hot or cold. And so what that determines is how fast I can get it back. So, basically trying to cut down your cost of storage. And I could say, well, there are projects that I could put away and then maybe just take a long time to get back that may not be as important. But then there might be some others that are, needing to get back as quickly as possible. So you can kind of go in and select the different levels within the Azure Blob system, and then be able to then say, with different profiles, I'm going to go ahead and send those off to Azure Blob and then have them restore quite quickly, or then taking a little bit slower to get. There's also the different tiers that you have, as far as to optimize to store data with access, frequently. It may cost a little bit more, but I can access it quite quickly. And then, of course, things that are, maybe not so important, I can go on a cold storage and then, be able to store it, and then it may take a little bit longer to retrieve that content. So another new feature there. Something new we've just done is added a new Emam Feeder. So those of you who use Feeder know that the older technology that we had was getting a little long in the tooth there. So we've just moved over to Electron platform and developed a new feeder, basically to give you a little bit more options as far as upload speeds and things like that, and then being able to, just transfer up, individual files and so on, or then, add complete folders as well. One thing about folders, if you do add a folder, that actually becomes a category within the Emam system. And if you have multiple layers of file folder structure, those also become subfolders within that main folder. So if you add files, they just go in as files, and they're either located in, uncategorized or in a category. But if I go in and add a folder, I can keep that same folder structure in the category widget. So a little bit easier to kind of find all your content as well. So speaking of categories and so on, when you're in Adobe Premiere, you have the ability to kind of add all your content or import your content into a project, okay? And so within that project, you may create sequences and you may create bins within that project and so on. Typically, editors will add bins for video, audio, images, bugs, lower thirds, things like that. And so with that, then we would, we wanted to give the option for editors to be able to export that project, go into Emam, but create categories based on their bin structure. So if you want to do it based on file path, you can do that as well. And then also, of course, bin structure as a category. So what you do is in the settings here, you'll just go ahead and select which option you're normally going to use when you export from Adobe Premiere into the Emam system. And when it does that, then let's say if you select bin, it'll create categories where you place your project file. So underneath the main folder, or I'm sorry, not folder, but category, if you go ahead and export it out, all the bins that you've created will become subcategories within that category. And then, of course, the project file will be there as well. So nice new feature there doing that. So for those of you who are admins and actually create different profiles for ingest or delivery, in this case here, what we've done is we've added the save as delivery profile. And a lot of our clients, what they were doing was creating one delivery profile as kind of a base, and then needing to maybe tweak it a little bit. And so the idea here is that I start with that one, open it up, and then I can save as, and then name it something different. So, you know, you may have a template-based delivery profile, but then you're going to tweak it a little bit. Maybe you're using the same sidecar, but, you know, maybe you're transcoding a little bit differently and with a delivery point that's a little bit different. I can take the original template that I have for delivery profile and then do a save as and then name it something and then tweak that to its you know, new settings and things like that that you're going to be using. So again, we've just added this. This is actually in the super admin section, so only the admins can see this you know, menu choice and things like that. They just click on save as and so on, and then you can create as many as you want. You know, start from the main one and then start building from there without having to recreate everything over and over again and then filling in all the same information and so on. This is a quick and easy way to do that. So, all right, so we continuously improve the CloudFront template. So this is the ability to, what we've done is give the ability to create a template. And so it actually has all in it, built in all the server setup, the licensing, you know, the configuration of the license that you're going with, how many servers that you have, and so on. So if you go into AWS and you're using, say, our pass model, we have a CFT template for being able to then deploy out to one or multiple servers. So I think we have now 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. But it, you know, single server in, you know, 2 server, 3 server type configurations with those templates selected, and it'll actually then deploy and install all the correct software, services, and things like that on all of your servers that you have within, say, AWS. And this is typically used for under our pass model, which is where we provide a license to you, and then you actually have the platform ready to go for you know, deployment. And then this template here, basically, then CloudFormation template will then actually deploy all the services and install the services on those EC2 servers and storage and things like that that you have running. We've also added S3 transfer acceleration, so web upload and download. Now, what's interesting about this is, imagine then there's one Emam system, and let's say it's based in Virginia on the East Coast of the US. And then you have people who are uploading in Los Angeles or London or Asia and South America and so on. They could actually use and transfer up to local S3 buckets and then be able to import those into the Emam system. We also can use the ability to stream those files from S3 or make them available for download as well from an S3 bucket. And this acceleration that AWS offers makes that upload and download process much, much, much faster. So a lot of people were using, you know, on-prem systems. It was going through a slower network and transferring. But when you move to the cloud, put Emam in the cloud and store things in the cloud, this S3 transfer acceleration of up and down makes life a lot easier to do that and transfer and upload data. Drastic Technologies, they're based in Toronto, Canada, and we use them for transcoding as well, for file-based transcoding, but we've integrated now with their Media Reactor streaming option. And so what this allows you to do is be able to put media up in S3 in AWS, and then be able to go through the panel of the Adobe panel and not so much import or download that content or that media in a project file, say through the panel in Adobe Premiere, but you could actually stream directly from an S3 bucket. So you're basically using streaming files down locally on your laptop or desktop, and then streaming that content and transcoding from your laptop or desktop and using that streaming file, but then also being able to transcode and move or export that project or create new assets from sequences doing this. So really the concept here is that you're not downloading the full product. You're only streaming the content that you're viewing and so on. And there's small streaming files that do come down. So this is a great way to, kind of have remote editors and so on, working within the Emam system. Emam's located up in the cloud. All the storage is up in the cloud, but then our remote editors are just streaming the content without downloading full res content there as well. We've done also some further product qualifications for Okta for single sign-on. We also work with Microsoft Teams and Slack as well. So with those, we were actually doing notifications. So if somebody does produce a video, maybe a sequence and so on, a rough cut or something of that nature, I can actually through Teams or through Slack send a notification to my teams and say, hey, we've got a new asset for you guys to preview. They click on the link. You can actually embed a video link to the proxy and then be able to have an Emam web page open up, and then they can preview the content and so on. But you can do full collaboration, with Teams and with Slack as well. So a little bit more advanced on this, on the Active Directory type setups, so, single sign-on, and then of course also communicating back and forth with Teams and Slack is there as well. So under development currently, we're also adding a new player, Video.js player, for streaming type files and so on, HLS streaming. There's a lot of play in this here. We're going to be kind of coming out a little bit later on this year or early next year with this player to be able to give you a little bit more streaming file types, being able to preview content that's coming in, possibly log as it's coming in, and so on. So a lot of options coming our way here, I think, with this JS. A little bit more security level in playback and things like that we can do some overlaying and various things on the security side, kind of knowing who's watching the content also within the Emam system. So we're also adding instant, we're still working on this one, but instant assets. This is where an asset's being uploaded. It actually becomes available within Emam immediately. After the upload is kind of completed, the proxy is created, and after the assets have been created as well. But the assets then become searchable and viewable as they come in. Or you can actually see those and start logging those or adding metadata and things like that with that, the asset basically becoming immediately available within the Emam system. So we can also create proxy workflows. This is where we would actually create a proxy maybe after the fact. So if assets do come in without a proxy, you just want to get it into the system so somebody can make it available. We could actually then create a workflow or a button to hit and then have a proxy created after the fact. So that's also another option there as well. And then workflow dashboard. So if you're not familiar with Emam and the workflow capabilities, we have a menu-driven workflow designer that basically can go in and say, based on an action, like an asset's been ingested, metadata has changed, or data's been reached in time, we can trigger a workflow based on a condition and then make an action happen. So that could be deliver, notify, send an email, purge something, archive something. So we do have that dashboard capability with the workflow, and then being able to take that workflow and want to know what's going on in the workflow when it does run. We will have a complete dashboard now within the director interface, and then be able to view that. So users or admins can actually then go into the dashboard and view that, what the status is of that workflow. All right, so on the bundles, license bundles, we continue to go on with those bundles. If you're not familiar, we started out with the Emam Vault. This was our main product in the beginning, where we are providing, archiving systems, LTO library, tape backup, and so on for storage of all their media. This was our base system. So price-wise, going from left to right, it kind of increases and feature sets increase, and of course price increases as well. But the ability is to, or the idea here is to actually be able to then go in and just have a very simple system for managing all your content, viewing, collaborating on, and viewing content, and then be able to store it in a secure location. And then maybe if it's in the cloud, a very cost-effective way of storing content without having servers and so on locally. Everything's stored up in the cloud as well. But Emam Vault's very simple process, storing and managing that content. When you move up to a publish, this gives you then the ability to kind of share content, deliver content, and so on. So this is this system would basically, or this license bundle would be good for those who want to collaborate on content and then take that content and maybe deliver it to social media or broadcast locations, things like that. But then also, of course, archive that in a very cost-effective way, and then be able to select content, maybe restore it, and then deliver it as well. And then, of course, very easy to email links to proxies and so on, and then be able to share that content. And then, of course, they can download it or deliver it there as well. If you move up to the workgroup side, that then adds the ability for production management, and that sequence editor, rough cut editor that I showed you or talked about, that gives you the ability to kind of manage a project within the project widget, and then versions of projects, and then of course also rough cut edits and things like that. So if you are managing and using an NLE system like say Final Cut, or within Premiere, have it as well, but mainly on the Premiere side, we have that panel which works well, and then on Final Cut, we do have an extension that works well within Final Cut Pro as well. All right, and then lastly, on the enterprise side, this is more of a powerful scaled system. So this is a bundle that most people would go for if they're looking for auto failover, primary, secondary database management systems, clustering of web streaming servers for proxy preview and things like that, production management, of course, sharing and storage. But the ability is, or not the ability, but the purpose of this one is really for large scale systems. If we're going in and looking at maybe having 100+ users and so on, you're starting to scale up then the different components like web streaming servers and things like that to kind of support the needs for your company in your different environments that you need. Okay. And I think that's about it for right now. What we'll do is kind of look over and see if there's any questions that we have. Again, 5.3 is available this month. You can go ahead and also go into our emamcloud.com site and go in and sign up for Emam. You can go ahead and do a trial of Emam. Go ahead and log in. Once you go ahead and jump into an AWS account, or if you already have an AWS account, you can do a trial of the system and use it. And then if things don't work out, or you're done testing the system, you can actually go in and turn off the system as well at that point, and so on. emamsolutions.com, if you'd like, you can go there as well. We have many other videos, information about each one of our bundles and things that we have, and very specific technical information about our products as well. And then John has done a great job on Vimeo at Emam 2020. That's where you can go and then look at all our promo videos, and then of course all of our educational videos as well. Okay, so I think with that, we'll wrap it up. I appreciate all your time and efforts in joining us today. And again, if you'd like to look at this recording, you can check out on Vimeo or also on the emamsolutions.com. All right, thank you. I appreciate it, and take care.
Learn more at emamsolutions.com or emamcloud.com.